6 to 7 Figure Show, episode 94. Let's hit it.
Broadcasting from the Valley of the Sun outside Phoenix, Arizona. This is the 6 to 7 Figure Show. Tired of working so hard and having no time? Take your six-figure practice and turn it to a thriving seven-figure enterprise. And now, your host, author, speaker, mentor, and strategist, Frank Bria.
Hey everyone, welcome to the 6 to 7 Figure Show. I'm your host, Frank Bria, and today's episode, we are going to focus on lifestyle building. First, a quick message from our sponsor. This episode of the 6 to 7 Figure Show is brought to you by High Ticket Program. What's between your six-figure practice and your seven-figure enterprise? Just 12 projects. That's all. Execute those projects and you are there. In the High Ticket Program Accelerator, we guide you through every step of growth and scale, a process we call LEAP. Imagine having a world-class project team guiding you and your team through every step of pain-free growth, all with the goal of becoming a seven-figure enterprise and moving away from painful, time-consuming business operations and client delivery. Get a taste of LEAP in your own business by downloading our free high-ticket program core offer Black Book. It contains more than 60 pages of standard operating procedures for your business, including onboarding, customer service, graduation, financial management, and a lot more. You can get those by going to the show's homepage at 6to7.show. That's 6to7.show for your free Black Book. I am absolutely pleased to introduce today's guest, Ariana Sylvester. She went from reluctant spouse to successful entrepreneur by building not one, not two, but three successful businesses, which has enabled both her and her husband to leave their jobs in their early 30s. She now partners with her husband to help others achieve financial freedom via their Lifestyle Builders book, podcast, and coaching programs. Ariana, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me on. I'm so honored to be here.
No, it's an honor for us. So there's no way that we can ignore reluctant spouse. We got to start there.
There's a reason it's in my title.
So tell us about that.
Yeah, so obviously we are a team. Tom and I have done everything together from basically the time we met.
Yeah.
But one of the things that really caused us some upset in our relationship was when Tom had the epiphany and got the entrepreneur bug. It was actually right before we got married. He read a book by David Bach, Automatic Millionaire, and it got him thinking about, I don't really want to work in a cubicle for the next 45 years of my life and miss all of those moments going by as we are married and grow a family. So he had that epiphany and decided, like, right then and there, he was going to start businesses. And for me, I was on the traditional path. We had a 5-year plan when we met in college. We were going to graduate. We were going to get married. We were going to buy a house. We were going to have kids, the whole picket fence thing. Yep. And I didn't have that epiphany. I didn't have anything that kind of caused me to change my point of view or my perspective on what was possible in life. So, Tom being Tom, he ran with that idea. He's a quick start, and just was like, yeah, we're going to start a business. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And I was like, what are you talking about? No. We had a 5-year plan. This is not in the plan. So, it kind of came to a head when he spent around $7,000 on 2 credit cards for a real estate training very early on. This was right before we got married and right after we had already bought a house together. So like the worst time to be spending money. And that, it brought us to a point of really having to have some tough conversations about like, where are we going here? Because we were going to spend the rest of our lives together. We're supposed to be getting married. And this is a big decision that you made without me. So we had to really talk, and I figured out that there was a reason why he did it. And he just did something rash without thinking, which, happens sometimes.
Yeah.
But it really opened my eyes to the fact that he had been having like all of these other thoughts and going down this other path. And I just was completely unaware that that was there. So once I figured out why it was so important to him, creating the lifestyle that we wanted, and he was of this idea that entrepreneurship was the way to do that, I said, okay, well, I want the life that you just described. I want to be able to spend time with our kids, to have time and money freedom. But I don't really want to do that. So I supported him with making the choice to start a business, and it happened to be real estate that he chose. And I just kind of was like, well, I'll be here supporting you, and you do your thing. But as life happens with us, it tends to be we always end up doing everything together. I saw how much he was struggling working a full-time job and trying to run a real estate business on the side, and said, hey, this is the love of my life. I have to do something to help him if this is this dream that he has. So I stepped in to become the office manager of the business. So this is why we call me the reluctant spouse, because I took like the tiniest baby steps ever in all of the businesses that we started, and kind of was so like slow through molasses, like, I really don't want to do this, but I really want the life that is promised at the end of this, and I want to support my spouse. So that is where the reluctant spouse name came from, is because every time he decided to start a new business, I reluctantly stepped in and started asking questions. Okay, well, how is this going to work? What are we going to do? How is this going to help us?
Well, there is something, I guess, a little paradoxical about that, because I mean, a lot of us, and you guys included, we talk about the lifestyle piece. So there's a lifestyle of entrepreneurship, and it's lots of fun to talk about the sitting on the beach part of the lifestyle, if that's your thing. But there's also the tough part of being an entrepreneur, lifestyle wise, which is that there are some months it's unpredictable, that the level of work goes up and down, that sometimes you're not able to turn the phone off, things like that. And you kind of have to bring the whole family into this. I mean, there's really no way to not. But yet on the other hand, there's all that classical discussion, like, don't do business with family, keep family relationships out. It's too complicated. Talk to us about navigating that. I think a lot of people who had a spouse or a significant other as a partner in their business, or even as like an employee in their business, can occasionally run into times where those two things are in conflict, those two roles conflict. How do you push through that?
Oh my gosh. Oh, best question ever. So this is been one of our biggest struggles in running 3 businesses together, raising 2 kids together, and, being the loves of each other's lives, like being married and living life together. It has forced us to grow in so many ways. At times, it has been very uncomfortable for one or both of us. And it luckily, we have very different personalities. So while in some cases that causes us to really bump heads, because like our communication styles are very different. So he will say something and I hear it definitely differently from what he meant. And vice versa, I will say something and he takes it completely differently. So one of the ways that we've kind of had to evolve over these last almost 12 years has really been learning about both ourselves and each other past the normal point. You know a lot about your spouse. We've been together for, since 2006? No, since 2002. Wow, I should probably remember that.
Don't worry, it's not like this is recorded or anything.
Oh yeah, he's totally bad with our anniversary too. He can never remember what year we're on, so I don't feel offended at all. But we've had all of these evolutions and learning experiences about each other over the years, and we had to continually keep doing it, because obviously as an individual you continue to change, you continue to grow and evolve. So I think that has been one of the biggest ways that we've had to kind of attack this struggle, was continuing to learn about each other, continuing to learn about ourselves, making sure that we are having productive conversations, because they talk about communication being the most important thing in a relationship. No, it's not just talking at each other. You have to have productive conversations, and you have to physically learn how to change how you say something, or change how you ask a question, or shift your own mindset around something, because it imperviates through everything, like it's our life and our businesses. And a lot of people are like, well, don't you have a separation? Well, yes, we have some separation, but we have less than most people who work a regular 9 to 5, because we work out of our home and we work different hours than some people, and we're married. So we're having like meetings and we're talking about life, and we're also talking about the businesses. Right. So I think it's just been really focusing on how can we do this together and how can we continue to improve this process that we've kind of come up with ourselves, like having meetings, and we go to a therapist, we see her regularly so that we can continue to work through things as they happen.
That's really smart. One of the things you said early on in this discussion, I think calls kind of the issue here, which is you got to grow. Like there are going to be elements of things you're not going to be able to stay who you are, but that's going to be true regardless. Like anything, if you build a business, as you grow, as your business grows, you have to grow as the leader, as the CEO, as the entrepreneur. And so why should it be any different in your relationships? The different roles that you even set out, like there's your partners, your co-parents, your like all of these other things, which are also difficult things you have to talk about. Like I like to joke that, you know, if you want a really tough conversation, try differing in parenting style. That can be a tough conversation.
Yes.
Sometimes too.
We're very lucky in that our parenting style is similar. So that's probably been our least area of contention over all of the years we've been together.
That's amazing. Yeah,
which makes the business part slightly easier.
Yeah, that's good. That's great. Well, would you recommend enrolling the significant other? Like if someone is listening to this and they're sort of a solopreneur, is this worth the effort to enroll the partner, their life partner?
I really think it's a case-by-case basis, because we've talked to a lot of people where, you know, their spouse is very similar to me in that they're not completely against it. They don't really want to be involved, but they're starting to see, you know, through little pieces of life happening or business happening where the business is beneficial or where entrepreneurship is a different path. Yeah. And I think that there's so many different levels of entrepreneurship. There's some people who want to jump in and be a CEO and be running a multi-million-dollar business and have a team and like high achieving style. And then there's other people where entrepreneurship wasn't really always their dream, but they kind of, maybe they had an opportunity come up and they see the opportunity as, hey, I could change what our life looks like. Yeah. Maybe I'm not a quote unquote typical entrepreneur, like when you take the personality tests and such, but it's something where you can step into that role. And like you said, if you're willing to grow and you're willing to do the work, that you can you can shift your perception and you can shift what your definition of yourself even is, which that was me. I was the reluctant spouse, and now I'm just an entrepreneur, just regular old entrepreneur.
Yeah, and let's face it, you're the power of this power couple. That's
Thank you. Aww. Making my day.
So and you bring up a really good point, which is there are a lot of different levels of enrollment and involvement of your spouse or partner in this. Like you don't have to turn the knob all the way to the top and say, you know, this is the person who's essentially, you know, 50-50 partner in all the operations, but some level of enrollment, some level of discussion of, you know, the impacts of entrepreneurship and things like that. That's got to be a really important piece. I mean, I've done this both ways. You know, in my first marriage, my spouse was completely not supportive and actually actively like fighting against it. And I sort of put the blinders on and pretended like it wasn't happening, which wasn't a good call at all. And now, you know, I've got my partner is essentially with me in the business, and it's a completely different experience for me. And I thought initially at the beginning, I'm a solo person. I don't need the help. It is way better this way. I got to be honest. It is way, way better. So I want to pivot a little bit to talk about the brand and the work that you guys do, because I know that a lot of the work you do is very tactical, process and scaling, getting people to grow their business. But you sort of take the soft side of this and walk people through some of the tough mindset issues that are coming up. So as you think about kind of a process as you're working with your clients, what are some of the common issues, barriers that are coming up for people emotionally or in mindset that you feel like you're tackling on a regular basis?
We do tackle a lot of like lifestyle mindset where, people kind of have these perceptions of what things should look like, or they've been around the entrepreneurship industry long enough to have kind of those outside expectations that are seeping in, and they think that they have to do their business this way or they have to run their life this way. And one of the first things that we talk about is, what is your mission? What are your values from a personal standpoint, not from your business standpoint? Because most people's why, the reason that we're doing all of this, is to create a better life for their family, for their loved ones, to have more time freedom, to have more money freedom, so that they can be at their kids' dance recitals or soccer games, or so that they can go on family vacations and not have to penny pinch all year round to be able to do so.
Yeah.
So that's one of the biggest things that we usually tackle with people, is just like flipping your perspective on what this can look like. Everybody is different, so there is no reason that you should be following somebody else's method and trying to do exactly what they've done. That doesn't work. You have to look inside and really look at, what are your priorities? What is it that you want for your family? What are you willing to do and what is off the table? And that is going to all come into play as you're building your business. Yeah. Because if those two aren't in alignment, neither one is ever going to be as successful as you want it to be.
That is true. And I think a lot of people have seen that, but it's interesting. I agree with you. A lot of people don't take the time up front to think that through. As again, back to your brand of lifestyle builders, is that if you're going to build, you got to have a plan first. You have some kind of an architectural diagram of the house you're going to build. But it's easy in the online entrepreneur space to get sort of lulled in by some tactic. And then you start to think that your business is the tactic.
Yes.
I run a membership site, or I do this, or I launch a course, rather than really focusing on really what the overall intent is, what you're trying to build.
Yeah. And I think, one of the things you mentioned was just that spouse buy-in, where, a lot of people are, I'm a solo entrepreneur, I'm going to do this thing, I'm going to do it for my family.
Right.
And one of the things that they very often overlook is, you don't have to have buy-in from your spouse. You don't have to have their 100% full support to be in. But what you do have to have is both of you on the same page for what your goals are for your family. Because just like in a job, if your spouse takes a career where they're traveling and they say, well, I'm going to be making a six-figure salary, so this is going to be great for us. But you, the spouse, is stuck at home with the kids and it doesn't seem so great for you. You kind of probably want to be on the same page before you go and jump into something like that. It's the same thing with starting a business or entrepreneurship. You have to have at least some semblance of a plan for your life before you go and jump into doing something. And it's just going to cause issues down the line because, like you said, if your spouse is against it, it causes all of that contention, and there now is your relationship is just not in a good place. Right. And if this is something that's important to you, now you've got to choose between your business and your relationship, and that's not a decision you want to be stuck in.
Right. And this idea of having to choose between the two means you haven't achieved that alignment that you were talking about earlier. Mm-hmm. If it's aligned, you shouldn't have to choose. They should be
exactly
essentially going in the same direction. There's always trade-offs, of course, yes. But what I hear you describing is essentially having some kind of a agreed upon rules of engagement for how you're going to make those trade-offs, because you understand what the priorities are.
Yeah, I think we've talked about this too. This is an evolution of life. When you first are dating somebody, there's all of the, the happy rainbows and good feelings, and you're in love and it's amazing. And like you have those deep life conversations about what it is you want out of life. But as your relationship evolves and as you add extra things in, like kids or businesses or whatever else is happening, we often don't continue to have those types of conversations in a relationship. And, I think it really, in our culture, it's very frowned upon if you talk about going to a marriage therapist. Like, what's wrong with your marriage? You're going to a therapist. It's the same thing as getting a business coach for your business. You're getting somebody to help you work through what is happening in your life and to make sure that you and your spouse are on the same page as you have all of these external pressures coming on you. And I think that's one of the biggest struggles that so many of us have, is that there's this, taboo feeling about going and getting help. Because if you show up better in your marriage and you show up better in your life, guess what? You can show up better in your
Oh,
business.
for sure. Yeah. I mean, there's always this blend of things where, you got something going on in the business and something going on in life, and the two are usually have some similar underlying
Yes.
piece, right? Yeah, absolutely. I think that's exactly like a business. You go through a strategic planning process every so often. Your relationship, your life, your lifestyle, and what you want you should be doing that as well. Things change. You gain insights.
Hmm.
I know people who go, "Oh, yeah, I thought I wanted that, and then I got it. And it wasn't really what I thought it was going to be." So,
Yep.
yeah. I want to give you a second to talk about the work you guys do in your Lifestyle Builders programs. Can you give us a little bit of background on the kind of businesses you work with and where you take them?
Yeah, so we really are finding the gap in this area of people that are looking for the time and money freedom, but they haven't quite hit on it yet. And they are, maybe they've been around for a little while now and they've tried a couple things and it hasn't been working for them. So we've really started to focus on service providers that are wanting to make an impact with their customers, with coaching programs or, some sort of group program, or packages like that. And we help them walk through basically how to make sure that the program that they're choosing is actually what their clientele is looking for. Who are their ideal clients? Are they actually interested in this program that you are wanting to launch? And can you go and actually talk to them and validate that this is a necessary solution for them and that they're willing to pay for it? Because one of the biggest problems we see in this online space is everyone tells you how easy it is to go and have a $100,000 launch, and all you have to do is create a course and sell it online and pay for some Facebook ads. And we all know that that is just not true.
Right.
You still have to do the hard work, and you still have to know who you're selling to and what you're solving for them. And this is a problem that we ourselves went through when we jumped into the online space, and I think that's probably why it's so near and dear to our hearts. But it's something that we see all of the people that are kind of where we were, they're getting stuck with this. And it's very frustrating when you have a business for, a year or two and you're still not making the sales that you want, or you feel like you're still not making the impact with the people that you're helping with your product offering. So that's really what the Lifestyle Builders Incubator is focused on, is helping people kind of walk through that concept, that idea that they have. Let's actually make sure that that is going to be successful program for you.
That's validation, alignment with market need. Yeah, it's so funny. We think about that. It sounds so obvious, and but so many people don't do that.
Yeah,
Especially I think in the online space where there's so much focus on digital marketing efforts. It's so easy to just sort of hide behind your computer.
It's really
And
easy. Your
forget
email
that,
list, your Facebook.
yeah, like these are not really people, like people with needs and issues and concerns. Like they're just numbers or whatever. And I know that most people don't feel that way, but it's easy to kind of get trapped in that, especially if you're someone who is already sort of a little introverted. It's really easy to just sort of like shrink back, hide behind your computer is what I like to call it. Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, that we put all of our, we have a program within Incubator that we're looking to actually launch on its own called our Foundations, which is where we talk about all of that life stuff,
Nice.
the goals, how do you plan, how do you, track your progress in both your life and business, and how do you really get over some of those mindset struggles that come in as you're on the entrepreneurship journey.
That's amazing. I think that's missing from a lot of programs where there's a lot of business building stuff going on and where people's lives get off track. One of the things I like to tell people when they're running any kind of a program is watching for those life events that are dragging your customers and your clients out of the process. And we have a lot of times we're like, well, that's not really my problem. I don't really do that. Well, if your customer's not getting results because they're getting off track and all this other stuff, it is going to affect your business. It's a big deal. So yeah, brilliant. You guys are putting that into place. That's good stuff.
Thanks.
Ariana, this has been a great conversation. I apologize. We are out of time. I would love to continue talking with you, but I know you guys are busy doing the work that you're doing. And I appreciate that you've taken the time with us so far. One last question before we go. If people want to connect with you guys and figure out a little bit more about what you're doing, and kind of take a little peek behind the curtain, what's a good way for them to connect with you?
Yeah, we are everywhere around the internet. We're at Tom and Ariana. And then if you want to check out our book and our podcast, you can do that at wearelifestylebuilders.com.
Awesome. And that link is here below the video. It's on the show notes page. If you're out and about listening to the audio, come on back to the show notes page. Click on through to connect with them. I know these guys. They're brilliant. They're really good at what they do. So if anything that Ariana has talked about today is getting little things firing off in your brain, definitely click on through to connect with them. They are solid in the services that they offer. So again, thanks for being with us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me on. It was a great conversation.
Thank you. And thanks for being with us on the 6 to 7 Figure Show. I've been your host, Frank Bria. Just a quick reminder about the free high-ticket program Core Offer Black Book. It contains more than 60 pages of standard operating procedures on how to run your coaching, consulting, or expert-based service business. You can download that for free at the show's homepage, 6to7.show. That's 6to7.show for your free Black Book. See you on the next episode of the 6 to 7 Figure Show. Make it happen. Bye-bye.